130 students. Today we are looking at section 3.1, and this section is brought to you by this Viking warrior who happens to be winking at us. She looks very terrifying and strong. She also has another face. I think this is her angry face, but we're going to go with the winking face and a lovely braid. And what's happening in 3.1 is we're looking at a nice definition of interest and its related terminology, as well as developing the simple interest formulas. And then we're going to use the simple interest formulas to analyze various financial issues. Now, we already know that simple interest was modeled by linear equations. So it's a linear model. We knew that back in Unit 2, and we knew that that looked like y equals mx plus b. But now we're going to turn this more into the financial world's kind of lettering. We don't use the y's and the x's as much. So first, let's look at this notion of what do we mean by interest. Our author talks about interest as a fee paid for the use of money, or I like to think of this as the cost of money. So when you deposit money into a bank account, like a savings account, you are paid interest. That is the money the bank is giving you for having given them access to your money. There are multiple ways that this is calculated, or really just two ways. One of them is simple interest. The other is compound interest. We'll be looking at that in 3.2. So simple interest is an amount of money paid strictly as a percentage of the original amount that is deposited. And then compound interest is paid on the original amount and then on the new amount, meaning you earn interest on interest. Most banks are working on the compound interest. There are very few places where you will see simple interest, but we're going to start with simple interest and work our way to compound interest. All right, so here's our little scenario. We get a $600 tax refund. You decide to invest it on a long-term investment. It's paying 5% interest. So how much would we add to the account each year? Well, this goes all the way back to Unit 1, where we are figuring out what is 5% of 600. Recall that of meant multiply, that a percent was really division by 100 if we wanted to do anything meaningful with it. So we are going to divide this 5 by 100. That has the result of getting 0.05. So we're going to multiply that by 600, and then we're going to get the amount of interest we're going to add each time. Let's see, I might be able to do this in my head. I know 10% of 600 moves the decimal place one place to the right, so that'd be 60. Half of 60 is 30, so this ends up being $30. Each year, we're getting $30 in simple interest. All right. Now, because this is simple interest, we know this is fixed for the lifetime of our loan. What our author wants us to do next is to write out a general formula for this. So we did 600 times 0.05. Well, we often in the financial world call the original amount that we invested P for principal, and then we use R for the interest rate as a decimal. So we did PR, and that gave us the amount of interest after 1 year. And that was our little formula. That would be a formula. And this ended up being the $30. So if we were to fill out a table of what was happening each year, after 1 year, we earned $30, which made our account balance $630. After 2 years, we would add another $30 to this $30. We'd end up with $60 of interest we'd have earned, and our account balance would be $660. After 3 years, we have added another $30. This would be 90, so that's 60 plus 30. We'd have 690 in our account balance. After 4 years, we'd add 30 back to that 90. We'd have $120. of interest that we had earned. That would be 720. Notice that the interest we're adding in is the same amount every time. So here we're adding another 30 to this, 150. I'm adding this 150 to the 600. We now have 750. Each year we added $30. Now we're going to do it a big jump, right? There's a 5-year gap. So I have to add $30 5 times to get to fill in this gap. In other words, I have to add the same amount that I added here. This was 5 years worth of earnings. I have to add that amount to here, or double. So we'd end up with a $300 added in. That would be $900 added to our account total. So after 10 years of simple interest, we would have earned $300 of interest to our account, and our account balance would have been $900. Now the author says, okay, what's happening between these 2 years, or between these two columns? What's the relationship between the total interest earned and the value of the account and the time? Well, if you notice, 1 times 30 is the amount of interest we added here. 2 times 30 is the amount of interest we added in. 3 times 30 is the amount of interest we're adding in. In other words, if we take the time and multiply it times the original interest, that's the total interest we're earning. So number of years multiplied times the interest earned per year equals the total interest. And we've just arrived at our first formula. We could call it I equals P times R times T.